Ooh.
All right, I'm going to set this up to go live. Share in a group. G Ascension Tribe. Next. Okay, it says preparing live streaming preview.
I'll be able to check that we're live in the group too when it comes on.
Yeah, okay, amazing. Okay,
I don't think they're home yet, mate. Oh, okay. Oh, you might be then. Yeah, I have no idea. Yep. Yep, no worries. So I'm just about to do a Facebook Live, brother.
Oops. Okay. Check that your stream is connected and all request information provided before going live. Say something about this live video. I'll just say going live with Rhyn. Now, exclamation mark. All right, go live. Boom. All right, so it should pop up any moment now.
Sure. Looks like we are live.
We are live. Amazing. Cool. So maybe we'll just wait a moment. We'll give people a chance to jump in.
When you land, please let us know where you're coming from in the world. We love to feel people on the land. So I love it when someone's like, I am from Brisbane, Australia, or I am from Los Angeles in the States, or, you know, I am from London in England, or whatever small town around the globe. Let us know where you're from. It's super, it's awesome. I love it. It's just great. So let us know where you're from below. Let us feel you in the group, what you're loving about the journey, all the things.
Amazing. So, there we go. Nicole, Queensland. Awesome, Nicole.
It's awesome. I love it. It's just great. Cool. Yes, let us know where you're from, what town, what city, what country, how you're feeling. Give us some love below so we know that you're there. Let's light this up with a lot of joy, a lot of love. Yeah, Ben, whenever you feel you want to kick off.
Yeah, well, let's give people just, we'll have another minute and then we'll dive in. So I'm going to record this as well and I'll pop this in the group. I think it's cool that we get to hear a little bit of your story and your journey. Yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Thank you. And if you're watching the replay, you might want to just forward ahead a little bit if you want to. Yeah, just let us know where you're coming from. What are you most grateful for? Keep it flowing. Post it below. Get that energy happening. Get that chi flowing.
Yeah, look, I'm going to drop in there, Ryan. I'm going to say, so I'm Ben Maron. I'm coming from Zutphen, which is in the Netherlands, and like super happy to be here and grateful for what's emerging in the face of the challenge of the world at the moment. It's such a beautiful opportunity for reflection, for growth, for stepping up and claiming, you know, that piece that's like, this is what I want to bring, you know, forward from this point. You know, when the world shifts and it's going to be different after this, you know, who am I going to be? How am I going to show up? So I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I have, and also to support other people stepping forward in the same kind of way. So that's me.
Amazing. Yeah. Wow. My name's Ryan. I'm from Ravenshoe. It's in Queensland, Australia. That's where I am right now. I'm at the family hotel. This is where I'm doing the self quarantine. Yeah, and it's also super grateful for these times. It's profound. I feel like my purpose is on strong, and I think when the demand is there for a greater humanity, it's leaders like every single one of the people that are on this call just rise up. Leaders are born in crisis. Leaders are born in crisis. So this is your time. If you know that you're a leader, it's a time to rise. And one of the best ways to do that is to embody your life force energy. And I've got a lot of experience with that, being able to awake it through the pathways. So anyway, you'll learn more about that as we go along. But I might just pivot in. Should we get going, Ben?
Yeah, let's get going, and people can just drop in whenever they're ready.
Yeah. Experience. Awesome. Okay. Amazing. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this live, whether it's live with us now or on the replay. Thank you so much for being a part of the Chi Ascension Tribe in the next 30 days. I guarantee you will love every moment of the progression. It's going to be profound, and it's going to be a deep awakening. It's going to be something you'll be super grateful for, and we're definitely here. So I just want to take the opportunity to just introduce Ben. For those who don't know Ben, so Ben heads up the Zen Archer course, and it's a spiritual initiation for entrepreneurs. It's an 8-week deep journey. It's deep qigong training, morning and evening, and you learn to be an effective. You learn to integrate the 3D, but while keeping the spiritual side awakened. So usually there's a person who's a high performer and they're disconnected from their spiritual self, or there's a person who's super spiritual but disconnected from initiating their impactful purpose. With the Zen Archer, it merges the spiritual and business very well. You don't need to be in business to do it, but if you want to initiate business or you want to go next level in your business, we've got Zen Archer Gold and just the Zen Archer Foundation level. And it's a profound course. It's the first stepping stone into the deeper work that we do. So Ben is the general. He holds that down. Ben's an incredible being with so much experience. He's a Qigong instructor. He's a yoga instructor. He's been a primary and high school teacher for many, many years. So he's incredible with teachers, with teaching, and with kids, with students. He's also from Merlin's lineage that goes back very, very long time. So he's got lots of magical healing, vortex healing wisdom. So, and Ben is an absolute pleasure. He's also done Tibetan Buddhism. That's where we first really resonated. He's done a lot of deep work, like truly deep work, like diving in and doing true disciplined work on. So he's got beautiful virtue, wonderful soul. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Ben journeyed up to Ravenshoe where I'm staying now, and we hanged out and we trained together. And then he came up again later on after he completed some new training and came and stayed with me for about a month in Cairns, and he's gone through the Zen Archer himself, so he knows the power of the transformational course, and he's still experiencing the wisdom that's kind of like landing in that, which I'm so grateful to have someone with your experience, Ben, who's just resonating with the journey so much. So yeah, it's a huge honor, man, to have you on board. Thank you so much. Like, I really, really appreciate the way you've been showing up, and obviously the clients are super happy, and you're just doing an amazing
Beautiful.
job.
Thanks. Thanks for the introduction, Ryan. And there's one piece you were talking about, the Tibetan Buddhism there, and this is part of this topic, and having a chat with you kind of like awakens something within me as well when we talk about lineage masters and having these journeys of awakening. And you dove in really deep, and we'll get into some of that story of your journey with the masters and the experience that you've had there, which has allowed you to move forward and create the different offerings that you have, and also bring through the wisdom of those lineages into the present moment in a modern way that's really way to initiate people and bring them into the world and contributing in beautiful ways. So there's something about that when we hear the stories of masters and these old people that awakens something within us. And that's kind of what excited me about this opportunity now to talk to you, to kind of spark this, reignite this in myself, but also for other listeners and people joining in on the replay. uh, Awaken this sense of magic and mystery and wonder of what's possible in life beyond ourselves. We're not just this personality, this physical being, and have this awakening to more of who we are. So I guess I'm curious to kick it off, to hear a little bit about the Rhyn or the personality who you were when you were younger, before you went over to China for your journey.
Yeah, so just before I got into qigong and all of that.
Yeah, so who was Rhyn is kind of the first question, and I'll ask it again after that. And I guess the next piece I'd like to know, we'll often have a pivotal point in our journey, which we go, oh, I'm going this direction, and that will be traveling to China, or might be getting involved in Tibetan Buddhist teachings, or joining the Chi Ascension tribe, whatever it is. There's like a pivotal moment there as well. So if you can talk a little bit about before the journey and what that pivotal moment was for you.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Ravenshoe, which is Queensland's highest town, and my father had a pub, and my grandparents had a pub, and my father was running it for them, and then my mother had a travel agency, and so I grew up in this small town, and I don't know, it was great, a great connection to the land, and it was just really really beautiful, and yeah, I guess always from a young age I've just been tapped into different unique experiences, like seeing colors and seeing beings, and then I guess as you're growing up, everyone just tells you that they drum that out of you, and mainly because no one has a context or an education around any of the dimensions of evolution, so they don't really understand what's going on. So generally, with what happens is most people then shut those capacities off, and then what really happens is then we just get into our personality, and we kind of doubt ourselves a little bit from that moment on, because we can sense there's something else, but then we've kind of closed that off. So I guess I feel like I had a great childhood, really great friends, and got to explore, and we went swimming and bike riding and done all those great things. At the age of 15 and a half, I ended up leaving school. Um, School was never ever for me, ever. Like, I've only handed in 5 assignments and bits of homework in my whole in my whole whole like primary school and high school. I really don't know how I managed to get through. So I enjoyed school. It was fun, but it just got to a stage where I guess I was developing and maturing, and I just guess it was the more the system went along, the more I just didn't feel like I was a part of this particular system, and also, now I know that school education was set up by corporates to in I feel in the best deed to be able to create workers to work in corporations. So they offered free education, or offered education, so people could then, go and work in big corporations. So that's fine if that's your path, but for other people, they might be an entrepreneur, or they might be here to awaken something different in humanity, and so school's just one linear piece. And so basically, because I had no clue what I wanted to do. I had no clue, and there was this cocktail bartending course that was in the news, in a newspaper. I believe this is how the story went, from memory anyway. And my mum showed me this course, and she's like, "There's this cocktail bartending course," and I think before that, um, like, I was changing schools from Ravenshoe to Cairns and back and forward, and I'd done that probably from grade 4 till about grade 11, and then grade 11 is when I sort of left, and I was doing some schoolwork, and then I would come and work behind the bar at my dad's pub. So it was kind of like, I was developing I was a super shy kid. I felt like I was extroverted with my friends, but then around others, I was polite and I just, I'd kind of keep to myself. And that was basically, then I got right into flair bartending. My mum showed me this advertisement for, um, this flair bartending course. It was a 2 weeks worth of training, and 1 week was learning cocktails and flair, and then the other week was like you had to learn. You're behind the bar, and we used to get orders of one docket with like 30 cocktails at a time. And but I learned how to flair when I was at the age 15 and a half, and in actual fact, I actually mastered every single move on the movie's Cocktail with Tom Cruise. So I was on the old cassette player. I used to stop, play, rewind, stop, play, rewind. And I mastered every move at the age of 15 and a half, which took me like I probably used to sit in front of that thing for a day, stop, rewind, play, try to work out. Now we've got YouTube and courses and everything. But back then I was from a small town. I was doing this across the road in the family house in Raven. So I mastered all those moves, like every single move from that film. And yeah, and then I got right into cocktails, and there was so much the environment. There was so much pressure to learn, and I had so much passion. So if you've got passion with pressure, your skill elevation, you can get into flow very fast. So just a tip out there for anyone who wants to develop. If you love something, go where you love and go where the pressure is, and boom, you'll get into flow. We can whack up if you remind me later, Ben, we can whack up a flow chart underneath this so people can check that out. Yeah, and then that led. I was like a bar manager of my very first bar at like 15 and a half to age 16, and which is just a funny circumstance, which is legal in Queensland if you've left school and you're over 15. Then I went into the five-star hotels, and I just was learning how to do fine dine, and I guess just learning all the basic stuff. And I worked in different areas, and I quickly started breaking records with customer service and just efficiency. And basically, I got promoted to be a supervisor at this certain five-star hotel. I won't mention the name. And then I got the job, and then human resources were like, this kid's only 17 years of age. Like, you can't give him a supervisor role of a restaurant that has 1,000 covers and stuff like that. So they actually took that role away from me. And then I was deeply kind of cut by that. I was like, what? And then so a flair bartender job, I think may have been my mum showed me the ad was in, it was called Club 59 in Cairns. And it was they were looking for flair bartenders. And at that stage, I spent a whole year just like learning other skills, and I wasn't really allowed to flair. It wasn't much of in five-star culture, it wasn't really much of a theme. So yeah, I basically from there I got into flair bartending. At this stage I was 17 and a half, and I remember when they asked me how old I was, I changed it so I was a year older, so they would think that I was 18. I sort of made it the two kind of look like a three, and I'm sorry, the three looked like a two, so maybe a year older, because I was self-conscious now. I was like, I want to do this, and I don't want my age to be a factor. Yeah. So I was the head bartender there, and then basically, cut a long story short, I got a contract to go to Tokyo and work as a professional flair bartender, and that was the journey. That's kind of like where I went next. And,
yeah. I find it really fascinating listening to you talk and knowing, having known you for a little while too, the skill and the development of skill you're talking about doing the flair bartending, and I was curious how that will perhaps lead into what you talk about when you come into the actual practice of some of these arts that you came across with the masters as well.
Yeah. The flair bartender is about sensitivity and repetition, and it's about timing. And so it's funny because true mastery is being able to transverse skill sets to another area. And I guess the pure devotion only had one thing, and that stayed with me for a very long time. Now I'm more multidimensional, but it used to be I'm just doing one thing and that is it. So that one thing became qigong. I was running nightclubs and bars, and was running one on the Sunshine Coast, and I met this Chen style qigong master who was it's like a story out of a movie. He was basically from London, and he used to do underground fights, and he'd won 12 in a row. And on his 13th fight, he bet against himself, cranked himself up with chi, took some medication, lost that fight, and then just disappeared and arrived in Australia. And his skill level was phenomenal. So we started training, and basically it was under Chen style Tai Chi and Qigong, and it's a traditional method. So you have to awaken the meridian system in the body before you learn any forms, before you learn any, like I have a different way of teaching Qigong, but I definitely really respect that particular way. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is so in terms of your journey, you came across this person that done the fights while you were in Australia before you went over to Tokyo. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd gotten back from Tokyo at this stage, and I was 21 years of age, age 21, and I met this teacher, and yeah, we started training together, and I just started having profound awakenings. I'd lift my hand up, and I was like, straight away, I was very lucky. I could feel the magnetic energy between the palms of my hand. I was like, whoa, what is this? Like, it's something that's unreal, but it's real, and I can feel this ball. And then as I was walking, I could feel my chi and the roots of my energy body going 6 to 9 feet deep, every step underneath the ground. I mean, I remember just like there was this inner power that awoke in me. I became like so much stronger all of a sudden. And I remember going down on the brakes from loading up cartons in the bar and stuff like that, and like hitting the cardboard, and then I'd break. It was just like all of a sudden there was these special abilities that were kind of awakening in me as a result of the chi body starting to open up. Like I remember one of the things he did through the sequence, and he goes, look out as far as you can. We're about 20 minutes into a movement. So he goes, look out as far as you can. And he's like, what can you see? And there's like, oh, I see this, this, this. He goes, good. Now rub the eyes. We rub the eyes. We done a certain sequence. And he goes, now open your eyes and look. And my vision went like, and just went right into the distance. And I was like, whoa, like what is that? And so my eyesight just went like hundreds of meters further into the distance and zoomed right in. And like he was like, you see that? It's like he knew. It was like, you know what I mean? He's like, so he was like the first teacher that awoken me to mystical training, to show me that actually inside this body where we have so much potential. And when the meridian channels are open and there's a right sequence of movements, so much can open up. So yeah, and that was kind of like then I was like hooked. I was like, oh, I need more. And I guess at that stage I was partying a lot, I was drinking a lot, and it was probably really great that I found something that was getting me deeply hooked on like life force energy. And I had no understanding of what I was doing back then. None. No.
Yeah.
I was just going.
Yeah, so there's no intellectual background knowledge or anything. It was more like it was a lived, embodied experience of these particular things awakening in you.
I'm grateful for that, because I think however the journey happens, there's benefits for it. But I'm super grateful for that, and that moment that my life force energy started to awaken, and that's why this group is powerful to be in, because once that life force energy starts to awaken, your life purpose starts to come on, because we have our soul purpose, and then we have the personality kind of has things to learn in this journey. Then the personality, the self that we create, doesn't exist, but it's in service to the soul. But a lot of people get stuck in personality. But the soul has a purpose, but the living life force has a purpose. So if we activate our energetic body, and we are connected to Earth, planetary purpose, and sort of cosmos, and we can be more embodied and we can connect into our body, then a different purpose starts to emerge, which is fascinating. It's not even logical. You're just guided. And then also Qigong starts to bring the soul in. But there wasn't a lot of esoteric teaching I had on soul, although it was definitely included. Not as deep as what I've gone in the Soul Mystery School trainings that came sort of later on.
Yeah. So you've had these awakenings, in particular around the energy system, opening the meridian channels, and the things that came along with that, and not necessarily understanding what it was. What was like the next step on the path for you in relation to Qigong?
Yeah. Uh, it was a bone marrow cleansing set by Peter Ragnar, and I was practicing that on magnets, and that was profound. And
So did you meet him directly, or this was through some teachings you found in books, or what was the connection there?
yeah, yeah. You know what was really weird? Once this awokened up, all of a sudden, all these books just appeared, which I wouldn't have even understood, or even, and all of a sudden they were just the information. My current was on as well. I was like, but books started to appear and teaching started to appear. So he was one of the teachers that appeared. I met him many years afterwards. I went and trained with Peter, which was he's an amazing being, and I'm so grateful to have so many extraordinary teachers. Like I really am, and I think there's a saying that blessed is the person with great teachers. And once I heard that, I already had a couple of great teachers, and I was like, that's true, great. Well, if I want to be more blessed, let's get some more teachers, and let's journey deeper. That was literally my logic. But the next pivotal moment was I was still I I was running a bar in Cairns. It was called the Vertigo Bar, and I'd broken all the records, and I'd done well in that position, and I just wasn't fulfilled. It was an older demographic. I was younger. I guess I was looking, and I couldn't get in my Wing Chun training. That was the closest thing that I could get outside of my Qigong training to something internal. And then China started coming up on the radar, and I don't even remember how. Before I was already deeply down the rabbit hole looking at China as a place to go and study, because I'm like all in. Same with Flair bartending. Nowadays, it's like all in. And so I didn't realize that you could go to China and train with, I guess I didn't, there were so many things in my life, that opportunities that I just didn't realize was possible. And basically I remember asking myself, and I used to sneak out, practice Qigong during work. And, I used to keep it very secretive because, now it's all coming out because of the yoga movement, because everyone's practicing, everyone's okay with it. But back then it was considered quite weird or strange, or why would you be holding poses and doing weird breathing? Now it's like the most logical, normal thing you can do, because it's going to improve your health, wellness, and evolution. But the pivotal point for me was when I asked the question, I could feel like I needed to go to China. It was an internal drive. And I said to myself, if I don't go to China, will I regret this? And the answer was like, you're going to regret it. It just came through like this voice from another, so strong, so clear. And I was like, whoa. So I just really respected that. And I was lucky because I had a house, I had a car, beautiful girlfriend, although the relationship did end at this time. She was wonderful. And I was successful in my career. I was going to build a property portfolio. I'd achieved all the things that life tells you should do at the age of 21. So I was kind of grateful that I reached the top of a foundation and I had enough foresight. And I asked that question, and it said, yeah, you'll regret this if you just keep going on this path. And so it took me about 6 months, I think, maybe 7 or 8, to actually eventually get to China, because I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a guide. I was by myself. Family thought I was crazy going to China, because I was like, I'm going for 2 years, I'm going to China for 2 years. And I sabotaged, I was drinking, I was partying, even the night before I went, because now if you get a coach or a mentor, they can see your path, and they can just, that 6 months could have been 6 months deeper on the journey. Things are what they are. But then I flew to China, and I had one suitcase full of books, all full of books, because there was no Kindle back then. There was no audio, Audible. So I had one. I'd spent so much of my money on books and learnings, and at this stage, I was listening to the Secrets of Self Mastery by Peter Ragnar. I could almost repeat the book. I could repeat a whole book by memory. The Secrets of Money Magic, Law of Attraction before The Secret came out. Like I was hooked on life force energy and these teachings. And
so just to be clear, so when you arrived in China, you had no specific idea of where you were going or what you were going to do. It's just kind of land there and see where life takes you.
Oh, I was booked to go to an academy called, it was in Kunyu Mountain, which is the eight immortals in Taoist culture had met on this particular mountain on 3 times. And I used to go up there and meditate. But I arrived, I didn't know the exchange rate. I knew nothing. There was a lot of self-sabotaging. Anytime you step into your true purpose and you've got no support, there's a lot of self-sabotaging. It's just weird, and I guess people are wired differently, but there's definitely quite often if you're stepping into new terrain, there's often that's why having mentors is important. Yeah, and yeah, look, there's another crazy story that just happens when I arrived and everything else like that. But like we could do it, we could say an awesome entertaining story just on that. That would be profound and entertaining. But I think I think if we're going to talk about like the different teachers in the journey as overall, it might be
Yeah,
good to.
so maybe you've landed in China, and what I'd love to hear is like about some of those masters that really had a big impact on you at the time, and what
Yeah.
the magic was, or the thing that they brought that that changed you. That was an awakening of sorts with those masters.
Yeah, 2007 was huge. This was the year where I was like pretty much most of the year I was in China, and I arrived in January. And my brother fell unwell, so I had to come back for 3 months, which was great because I was practicing an hour every day anyway, which was so good. So the first master was Master Du, and I think he's a 32nd generation Shaolin monk, and he's become very successful and very well known now. I forget his actual Chinese name, but for short it was Master Du. He's a friend on Facebook and Instagram. He's just recently got a movie contract and some things like that. And the transmission from Master Du was profound, man. He was like, his acrobatic skills were incredible, but he had this just ability to, and this is where I the first realization of like, whoa, when you're with a teacher that's got a transmission, something jumps across to you that's not logical. You're just in the field. You're in their direct transmission, and so it just opened up like infinite potential. I was training so hard then, and he was the first teacher. So I was running 5 or 6 Ks a day. I was doing Shaolin Kung Fu. We would get up 6 in the morning. I would stand in one pose for 30 minutes, embracing the tree, just one pose. Um, then I would do 30 minutes of Yang style Tai Chi. Then we'd have a break for breakfast and chilling out from 7 to 8:30, which I would fit in some more studies, and I would write in my journal and I'd get prepared. And then the first class was at 8:30, so we'd go for a run, we would stretch, and then it would be say Shaolin basics, and then you might be doing a whole bunch of push-ups or carrying people on your shoulder, or Shaolin training. It's just like kind of like the movies, pretty much. Like you're doing a lot of hardcore. So Shaolin is like enlightenment through the body going through some transformation and facing your fear, facing your physical limitations, and every day busting through those. Whereas Taoism or the internal arts is you're awakening the inside, and then you go to the outside. Shaolin's the opposite way around. Just, they both lead to the same path, and there's differences there as well. But yeah, and the training I was doing Chinese kickboxing as well, and then in the afternoons I was doing, I was doing Bagua, and it was a loose style Bagua, which is, I think that's what it was at the time. And then basically Master Chen arose, who became my next teacher, my next true master that I became an indoor disciple. And he was a folk master who won the first gold medal in the International Qigong Exchange. He grew up in an elderly person's home in the Cultural Revolution, and there was 3 Taoist masters that were hiding out inside of this culture, because that were like, it was punishable by death, and so they were hiding out in this. Oh, and so there was limited food at that time, and they were looking for which children had a special quality, and Master Chen was noted for this special quality. So the 3 Taoists started transmitting teachings to him at the age of 2 and 3 years of age, not knowing what their own morality would be like. And I remember in an interview he broke down in tears because he said the only thing that's kept him alive, everyone else has died from that orphanage, is because he had a passion and a natural love for kung fu. And because of that, whoever had that was given more food out of the ration. So he sort of was that, and because he got stronger from that, he was able to. So his first teaching was from these three Taoists, just transmitting, working on this like child. So, and then he was also the Special Forces combat instructor for China, and he worked as a prison guard. So his skills were very practical, but as a person, he was so awake and loving and kind, and he used to sing Chinese opera, and he had just a beautiful presence around him. And yet he was so strong and fierce. Like he had diamond jackets, so you could punch his, like, put it this way, on state news and national TV. This happened a year or 3 years later, after me following him for 3 or 4 years. I dropped a 15-kilo stone on his belly from 9 feet. This is on video, and we got footage of this, like this, 9 feet. He was singing a Chinese opera song. The first time I jumped on, it's typical Chinese style, don't give you much instruction. It's your initiation, basically. And I'm standing, the first time I was like, because especially in the West, you're like, it's a weird feeling when you're going to drop a stone 15 kilos from 9 feet. I'm balancing on two ladders that aren't even equal on a bit of wood that my feet can't even, and I'm 9 feet up holding like to give people an idea, it's the weight of a kettlebell, 1 kilo less than the standard kettlebell weight. And I'm holding it out there, and he starts singing this Chinese opera song, and I wasn't sure of the instructions, and so I ended up losing balance. And the first time I actually fell off, which made the whole scene with all the news like even more, like everyone's emotion. I was like, no, I was like, I felt a little bit, but I'm like back on my game, straight back on the horse. No, I've got this. And I just said, please, I need instructions. I'm going to drop this stone on my master. That's what he's chosen me to do this. I will do it, but I need clear instructions for this task. And so, which is profound. And so anyway, he sung this Chinese opera song, and just for me, because I needed it, the sign was this. And it was this real little, very hard to see thing. And so then I dropped it, the stone dropped, it bounced, it hit him, it bounced off him, and he goes, ha, which means good in Chinese, ha. And then he sits up, and everyone's like clapping. The suspense was huge, and the bed underneath, it was a wooden bed, has exploded. So you can just imagine and it just bounced straight off. So Master Chen had this weird style because he had this iron shirt, which basically he would leave openings. So when you punched, it was literally as hard as steel. It was like as hard as rock. And so yeah, he's one of the, he's often referred to as one of the most greatest living iron shirt masters in China, because he was the dude that got so tired of people talking about the word chi and just throwing around this mystical concept. And he was like, if you've got what the ancients have got, you can do this. So he went and set all of these world records that still haven't been broken, because he was tired of people using trickery and games. And he was like, if you've got the real stuff, you should be able to do that. And so, yeah, he set these profound records, and I dropped that on him twice. And I've also had an 8-meter log from underneath his training rammed into my solar plexus with 8 men just, boom, boom. I've had staves broken over, broken stone marble. That's in my, and the beautiful thing about this, even though it sounds like very yang, these things are achieved because you're super yin, you're super soft, and the body becomes so full. And there's obviously exercises that strengthen the body, but it's the chi that's so packed inside the fascia that protects the body. I remember reading Mantak Chia's book when I was studying with that first master that I told you about, my very first teacher. He explains it like you've got a egg, and then around a raw egg, then around the egg you got a balloon, and then around that balloon you got another balloon, and around that balloon you got another balloon, and that's the 3 levels of fascia. So when you strike it, basically your fascia and your chi protects the vital organs, which was good for just general health, longevity, wellness, but also warfare. So even though I'm not, just to make it clear, I'm not into the warfare side of things, but I've gone through that training, and actually I was more into the internal arts, which was about peace and harmony and not using skills if you can help it. Yeah.
So what's the the impression that Master Chen made on you with these amazing feats? But What would you say is the biggest virtue or the biggest teaching or lesson that you've taken from your contact with Master Chen?
Great transmission. Like there, he was super magical, man. Another story from him is he told his wife he's going out for the day and came back 10 years later because he met a Taoist master from an old Baji lineage and went and lived in a cave for 10 years. So, and then came back 10 years later. And so, um, basically, he was, I mean, the last time I remember seeing him, I walked in and it was like time space warped, and it was just, and he just started going straight into a transmission and teaching me like, and started downloading this, like teaching. And so he helped me understand my feminine side better, like how to be soft and how that's more powerful than being hard. Um, it was a radical awakening, good for health and longevity. Um, and I've been able to connect to the source and download intelligence consistently, consecutively, like as if it's just normal everyday living. And for some people, they think that's special. That's one of the qualities that he's transmitted through me through this, like particularly his Neigong training, which is it's been noted in Taiwan, and he's got his own system. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was super magical, man. Like he was a really, like really great stories about Master Chen. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, I'm just watching our feed here as well. So I'd love to hear maybe about one more teacher that feels like it's like another real gem in your experience, because no, you've come across tens, if not hundreds of different teachers, and I'm gathering there's we could go on for hours, but I'd like the essence of another one. And I'll watch the feed, and if anybody's got any questions they'd like to ask Rhyn as well, just pop them into the feed there, and I'll go through and I'll give those to Rhyn as well. Yeah, so maybe talk to us about one more that feels like they were really special for you.
Yeah. Look, there's been 5 core teachers, so it's very hard for me to really just talk about one more. But
Yeah,
yeah. And I started studymartialarts.org, which people can look at online now. You can check it out, studymartialarts.org. To set that business up, I had to travel around the whole China and meet all these phenomenal teachers because they were interested in economic growth at that time because they had a 200-year downturn in China. So a lot of their cultural arts were dying. So and in the West, we'd had the fortune of our economy being quite stable for some time. So now we were more interested in awakening and evolution. So I set that up to help the teachers to keep those arts alive. And in the meantime, I got to meet all these incredible teachers. So, and one of the core reasons I've done that is I realized that if I want to become a great teacher one day, I need to be surrounded by great teachers. And who I was surrounded by was amazing nightclub leaders and business owners, so I needed to make a pivot, and I did. I did do that. So there's I was training one-on-one with the head of the Dragon Gate. I used to live with him in Shanghai, and I learned a lot from him. Beautiful teacher, and I learned a lot of core principles from him, and he taught me a lot about transmitting skills. It was different to Master Chen's transmission. Um, yeah, yeah, super sacred, and yeah, he was awesome. And I seen him do some phenomenal things that were, you know, mixed martial artists would come around, and I seen him like tap and close someone like they couldn't see, and like just weird esoteric things, and just flying people across the room with hardly anything. Like there's a lot of bullshit online, and then there's actually real teachers that can do this with very talented, physically trained people as well. Anyway, the teacher that I want to speak to is Master Wu, because after you go through the Zen Archer 8-week, Qigong spiritual high performance initiation, you go into the embodied I Ching, which is a multi-dimensional pathway of developing virtue and learning to work with the I Ching in a very new way. And this master told me I was doing nine. It's called Nine Palace Bagua, Nine Palace Bagua, and it's the most esoteric form of Bagua that there is. And It's so cool. So basically, he was from a very cool Taoist lineage, and I can't recall the name now because a lot of these teachers were super mystical, and because of Cultural Revolution, kept a lot of their secrets close, and it was kind of forbidden to teach some Westerners. So basically later on, he got in trouble by, even though he was 67 or something, got in trouble by people that were like, I think they were like years 90 to 100 years of age, saying you shouldn't be teaching this to Westerners. And so he used to draw kind of like on the ground, like he used to draw the yin yang symbol, then the Bagua map, and it was symmetrically aligned to my body shape. And I have to walk the I Ching. So I would start in the center, and then you'd go off into the southeast direction, and you would walk around clockwise, and then you would step into the line, the element that you started with, and you would do a form. Then you would step out the other side and go anti-clockwise, and hop in on the other side of the I Ching, or the clock, you could say, and you would do a form on that side, and then you would step out the other way, and then you would do a form in every line. So you go form, 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 but it was like you do half a form on one side, and then you do the exact half on the other side from the opposite entry point. So what happens, Ben, is you balance both sides of the body. You balance the yin and the yang. So the time that you've finished doing this movement, that can take, once you've learned, it takes about 6 weeks to learn, of diligent study. Um, uh, it was, once you've completed it, you can do it in 8 minutes or 30 minutes, depends on how fast or slow you want to go. You then sync the mind and body on both sides. And what happens is you start to embody the elemental life force energy of your body. It's like you're a dragon between heaven and earth, and you're moving through the different elemental pathways. So he transmitted this teaching to me. And what he said to me is, in 5 years' time, Ryan, 5 years' time, the teachings will appear to you. And I was like, 5 years' time, the teachings? No, I'm great. The first Kung Fu Academy I was at, I won like, what was it called? Like best international student out of 70 students. And there was 3 others or 4 others that shared that. So I was like, I'm going to train harder. And I was truly trained. I was all in. And so I used to train harder and harder, and I got good benefits. And then anyway, 9 years later, he said, don't do any intellectual study of the I Ching. Don't just this is the just study the your relationship by drawing this up symmetrically to your body, understanding the layout, and just walk and do the pattern basically. And it's complex and beautiful. And then 9 years later, like, I pick up the I Ching, and it's like I'm a master at it. Just like, and I've now developed my own system on the I Ching that's removes the dogma. It's a great way to know yourself. And then on the last retreat I was doing, this whole embodied I Ching course has now come through, which is an awakening through the chakras. And it's basically a journey of Eastern and Western mysticism through the I Ching, but you're actually embodying it. And it's far more simple than
Beautiful. Yeah, I just want to jump in there. Looks like your camera's frozen there, Ryan. Oh, no, there you go. You're back. Awesome. This piece around embodiment, this feels really important for me, because we've got, we're called the Chi Ascension Tribe, and there's something beautiful about that. And at the same time, this embodiment piece where it's not, we're not trying to get up and out of here through ascension. So how would you describe embodiment to someone? What is embodiment? Yeah.
So the way to describe it is, the body is of the earth. And if we don't have a connection with the earth, or we don't have a connection with our body, we don't have a connection with the earth. And fundamentally, that's one of the things where we're passionate about changing, because through Qigong is a great way to do that. It's a great entry point. It's one of the many great ways. It's been around for 16,000 years in one lineage and 5,000 recorded history it's known for. So embodiment is having a deep understanding of the body, and it's also understanding that the other bodies are considered to be physical bodies as well. So mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, energetic, auric field. You can feel them, you can sense them. And it helps us not get into any diluted states of what we're seeing when we consider the embodiment to be those bodies to be part of the physical journey. But basically, it's a relationship and a connection to the body that includes, at the deepest level, it includes sexuality. The Qigong teacher training that we've got, you go through all the elements to learn all the meridians and the connection points. And basically, for example, metal element is lung and large intestine. You learn movements to amplify the Qi and optimize your Qigong practice. Um, and the different teas you can drink that correlate to those organs. So I think, I would answer this question differently pretty much
Every time.
depending. Yeah, every time, because it's multidimensional. And what's alive for me right now about embodiment, other than just having a true connection. So what are some of the ways that you can tell someone's embodied is through their emotional body. They're connected to their emotions. They have a beautiful relationship to the love and care of their body. They're not always forcing themselves into yang cycles to burn their energy out to just achieve stuff. They're able to rest, recover, rejuvenate, store their chi and dantian, and so they have a good relationship with their body. And it's really important because the body is the temple for the soul, and the soul has a lot of trouble landing in a temple that's not ready for the soul as well. So there's so many elements to soul landing, and when we're talking about soul embodiment, Matt. But when we talk about Chi Ascension Tribe, it's already including the embodiment nature. It's already including soul. It's already including these aspects. So there's ascension out there where people are disembodied and they're connected to higher states of consciousness, and that's beautiful. But if you look at lightning, it doesn't strike from up there. It strikes because there's plasma that happens underneath. There's a frequency and a vibration. But with the body vibrating, which is vibrating with earth and planetary purpose, there's a download of soul or current that comes. But without that connection to the body, the soul won't land, or it won't be an embodied experience. It'll feel like we're living in another reality, and yet we're here. And why we are so big in Taoism and Qigong, and particularly this particular school, because we go into Western ideas of embodiment as well through, either the higher levels through Tantra and the white tiger and the yellow tiger and stuff like that, is we are looking for a new level of leadership right now, and that is a leadership that understands Earth and is connected to Earth. It's not enough to have data and to conceptualize ideas and have a great philosophy if fundamentally you're disconnected from nature and Earth, because we have to understand there's a different wisdom that once you connect to it, you know it. If you not connect to it, it just seems absurd. And these are some of the great debates that I feel like they're coming up now around 5G and some of these things like that, is because generally I'm seeing it's more of the embodied people that are having an intuitive understanding that this is not right. And I'm like we were speaking on early, Ben, we have the fundamental understanding that the truth is in the middle. It's not like we're against progression. We're about having a more embodied understanding in science and our progressive culture, one that is inclusive of the earth. Because I still love technology, and I love we're doing this now. We're able to spread our message because of it. I'm not against it. It's more like let's really honor our body, so in our souls, and so that way we will honor the earth as a result of that. So,
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, well, Chad, big hello to all the people that are watching. We got Peggy. Now, Peggy was asking before, it's like, did the training, I think she was referring to the Bagua, Nine Palace Bagua, I'm not sure. But she said, did it come across, was it really demanding physically and mentally?
yes and no, and I'll explain, because the difference between internal martial arts is they're steeped deep in Taoism. And in Taoism, there was a period of time with Taoism where they were super obsessed with longevity and super obsessed with the physical body. So not talking about the soul exiting the body and being the soul being physical immortal, the actual physical body being like, living, well, reaching physical immortality. They were obsessed with that, like super obsessed. So the practices have a very deep, nourishing benefit on the organs and the energetic system of the body, super deep. And it goes back thousands of years of, for 5,000 years of recorded history, we've got 16,000 years in one of the lineages that we've got. And there's profound things that aren't even aware. Got one master that's, I think it's 258, he's passed away now. Another master died at 138. And so we have to understand, when you've got a culture that's obsessed to longevity, that has information that's been passed down for centuries and centuries, and you're living in a supreme, you can like reach higher levels of cultivation. I'm not saying that I'm there or anything like that. I've definitely achieved certain milestones. There's no top. There's no particular top, and it's based on your own desire. So there was moments where your body is breaking down, but you're also building it up, and you're also connecting it. And basically the principles is being relaxed and finding balance and having harmony. So if you can be relaxed, balanced, have harmony, then basically your body will restabilize itself, and it'll find its center. And it's all based on the center principle. So yes, you break down your body, but the body's breaking down all the time anyway. Every 7 years, we've got a new body. The cellular rejuvenation is like, so we're basically multiple copies of ourselves over a lifetime.
Yeah, beautiful. Look, this feels like the conversation's been super rich, Ryan. Look, I'm aware of the time. Thank you, everyone who's jumped on. We've got Annika, thank you. Tigris, thank you as well for popping on. Fiona, it's been awesome having you guys here. If you've got any questions before we finish up, we'd love you to just pop them in the chat there, and I'll pass them on to Ryan. Yeah, but it's been amazing, really some gold in there. And it feels like, again, that's awakened something within me. And I hope it has the people watching. It's like, the possibility in that spirit and the landing of soul, the claiming purpose and really moving that into the world in an embodied way, resonating strongly for me at the moment after that talk. Super cool.
Thanks, Ben. I think the one thing that why I'm able to create programs that can ever like help people evolve and transform is I've had all this deep experience, and there's 6 styles of Tai Chi that I've got, 3 styles of Shingi, 4 styles of Bagua, then there's the Baji Jendao, and and etc. And different styles of Qigong. I'm interested in planetary evolution, what humanity needs right now, and because I'm a Gemini rising, Gemini North Node, and even my Chiron is Gemini, but so that means my wounds become my greatest gifts. There's so much strong humanitarian focus there behind it. So for me, I feel like I'm put on the earth to speed up people's planetary evolution, and I respect all my masters in the teachings with deep respect. I've also done the deep work, truly have, and over different systems that could be, that's definitely arguable, and some of them 100%, and others, of course, it's a lifetime journey. But I've been able to bring something that can speed up our evolutionary leadership, because why I'm passionate about this, Ben, and this is, people who follow me for a while start to realize what my purpose is after a couple of years. It takes a while for it to sink in. Sometimes it's not until the body wisdom comes on, they go, whoa, that's why you do what you do. I get it, and there's different levels. But the reason why I'm passionate about this is because always, especially now, the current systems that we create in the planet are always, we are co-creating these systems around, and they're based on our embodied level of consciousness, So if we all collectively wake up, then of course the greater power moves through, and all old structures will crumble away. The reason that it's crumbling away now, well, yeah, logical reason of coronavirus, but then also if you look at the planetary level of Jupiter and Capricorn, it's known as a depression in ancient astrology. And so this year cycle that we're in, and there's other stuff going on right throughout this time. There's a lot of planetary forces in alignment that's creating the energetic shifts that the ancients have tracked for a long time. and we're coming into a transition of another 2,000 year cycle. And so when the collective rises, I'll finish on this great story, and this is about the
Yeah.
responsibility, why we're showing up in this group, to do the qigong, and to do and possibly to journey with us in other ways if you feel called to it. That's an invitation that will become apparent once you journey with us, and that's something we're super committed to as a team. But talking about power and evolution, there was this story of this old king. I wish I knew his name. And this king had conquered most of the known world. He thought he had conquered all of the world, and with armies and force and brute force, and he just went around and conquered everything. And for 2 years, he was sitting back, sitting back on his success and talking about how great his kingdom is and how much he's achieved. And he was just enjoying his life because he had conquered the world. And then a wise man came in, and he heard about this wise man was in his kingdom. He invited him to have a conversation. And he was talking about how great his kingdom was and what he had achieved. And then the guy said, "Haven't you heard of the great king that lives up in this great mountain?" And he's like, "What?" And he was agitated, and he was like, "What do you mean? There's another person. What do you mean? And he's like, "Yeah, there's this great king. He's got these beautiful powers," and he's like, "Right, that is it. No time to waste." Demanded all of the army. He's going to stomp up there, and he's going to tell this guy that he needs to surrender and he needs to go underneath his control. Otherwise, he's going to wipe him off the mountain, and he's going to claim that territory. And the story goes that as he came up the mountain and he arrived up the mountain, he got to the top of the mountain. Well, just had something, yeah. The suspense of the story.
It's a story of building.
Building. He gets to the top of the mountain, and then once he sees this teacher, he sees this king, he could not help himself but to bow down, to bow down and just honor like the presence and the power and the grace and the love that this teacher was embodying. And the story goes, when we meet true power, not power of force over, not I'm going to force you to do this, and like true power, that we only surrender to that. We know that, wow, okay, I'm humbled by this, and it doesn't matter how great our power is by force. We just can't help but to surrender to true healthy embodied power. So the reason why I'm so passionate about this evolutionary journey, and I'm putting so much time and energy into creating stuff that can support beings through it, and the work will live further past me, and that's why we're doing a teacher training now, is because once this collective power awakes in people, then the systems have to follow the power. It's like soul first, strategy second. But when we're in our personality, it's about control and lower levels of consciousness. So systems can control personality, but soul reaches a higher level of power, but there needs to be a collective rising into soul. And then all of a sudden strategy will merge around that. Why is it important to do the embodiment and the soul work? Well, the embodiment, your temple needs to be ripe and ready for your soul to land. But the soul is based on pure love, and it's group conscious, where the personality is just in it to get what I need, clever marketing system, let me position myself well, where the soul goes, I love you, Ben. I love this group. I love all the people in this journey. Let's serve. Let's not worry about money per se. Money can come through our service to soul, and it may or may not come, but let's fully serve soul. And in that, it's the currency. If you look at currencies and money, it's a current, and it can come from many different ways. As long as we're being a conduit to our soul and we're giving, the currency can flow in and out from different areas, and we're looked after globally. But if we have leaders that are in their personality, governed by a system based on fear, survival, trade, and exchange, completely outdated, it's okay for the times it was. We got to ascend out of that journey, but now we're into soul. And once the soul lands, then there's a different ascension journey. So when we call Chi Ascension Tribe, we are also talking about soul and embodiment. It's also, I've gone through that journey, and the soul has landed, and now I'm on a different evolutionary path, and it's about the service to soul and the awakening of humanity. That's, yeah. We have a beautiful soul aligned team. So shout out to Summer, Darren, also Thane, and Loretta. Incredible Loretta. yeah, amazing people. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Ryan. I think that is a lovely note to finish on. Um, Beautiful transmission. Thank you for all the people that showed up. If you watched the recording as well, thank you for showing up as well. We're calling your souls forward and you on your soul journey. Bring those leaders in.
Yeah. Let us know what your key takeaways were below. What was your favorite part? Just I'd love to know. And thank you so much for being a part of the journey. And we're here to support you. If there's any questions you've got to make this journey greater this next 30 days, sure, there might be some things that might come up, but if we can make it better and easy for you, we're here for that. We are all in the group for that. And this is the first live of many to come with the team. And so we're looking forward to sharing more wisdom. And please invite if you're feeling in resonance to this, please invite your friends to the family, to this tribe, to this group. You know, this is a we culture. It's about everyone, and we're doing our best to. We are, and we're leading authentically and vulnerably as possible to make the dream a reality. So, massive love, and thank you guys so much.
All right.
Yeah. Oh.